You know I stand on business. Why you even letting somebody play with me like that? Why you letting somebody play with me like that?
Rapper T.I.'s son, King Harris, just went from flexing designer chains online to fighting for his life in the ICU after what insiders are calling a planned jailhouse ambush. Guards dragging him, cameras cutting out, chaos erupting. This wasn't some random scuffle. It was a setup straight out of a crime series. And while King lies injured and unconscious, reports say T.I. himself has been working every angle possible, calling judges, leaning on political favors, and even trying to strike quiet deals behind closed doors, anything to get his son out alive. Imagine that, the king of the South, once untouchable, now pleading with the system he used to defy. But the big question shaking social media is why? Was King targeted for his attitude, his last name, or for something deeper, secrets that could blow the lid off the Harris family's empire? It feels like destiny finally caught up to them. The Harris name, once synonymous with fame, luxury, and success, just collided headfirst with the real world, inside the cold, unforgiving walls of a Georgia jail. King Harris, who grew up surrounded by private chefs, reality TV cameras, and red carpet events, is now lying in a hospital bed stitched up from a beating that nearly took his life. The same kid who once flexed gold chains for followers is now covered in bruises. But this didn't start in that hospital room. This was a slow burn, years of reckless choices and desperate attempts to prove he was about that life. Remember that infamous Waffle House meltdown back in 2022? When King yelled at employees, threatened to fight, and tried to act tough in front of a plate of hash browns. The internet never let him forget it. People mocked him for days, saying, "You're from Buckhead, not the trenches."
I'm so puzzled why King feels the desire, need, want to be considered a street dude that badly. Why is he so obsessed with the struggle, with the life of being a street dude? Street dudes ain't really winning.
That was the first sign he was spiraling toward a reality he didn't understand. Fast forward, and the same arrogance that once built his online persona is what insiders say made him a target behind bars. What began as minor trouble, skipping court, ignoring warrants, snowballed into bigger charges, reckless driving, a suspended license, and DUIs. Eventually, the law caught up, and the celebrity kid act stopped the moment those cell doors slammed. In prison, King reportedly carried that same swagger, loud, cocky, and convinced that his father's fame made him untouchable. But behind those walls, fame doesn't protect you, it paints a target on your back. As one former inmate put it, when someone famous walks in, everyone either wants to test them, use them, or break them. That's exactly what happened. Sources say the attack wasn't random, it was planned. Apparently, King had been bragging too much about his father's wealth and his royalty status in Atlanta. Word spread quickly, and resentment built up. Tension boiled over when, conveniently, the cameras in his block went dark.
The cops even acknowledged it.
So now that you've been advised, you're being detained, okay? Do anything other than what I'm telling you. And I mean, you seem like a cool kid.
Moments later, fists flew. Boots hit the ground. King was beaten so badly that guards had to drag him out, blooded and barely conscious. By the time he reached the infirmary, his face was swollen beyond recognition. From there, it was straight to the ICU. For T.I., that phone call was pure hell. The man who once conquered the streets and the music charts now had to face the harsh truth. His son wasn't built for the world he'd been trying to imitate. The irony cut deep. Years ago, T.I. warned King publicly, even on live streams, that if he didn't straighten up, jail would humble him. Now, that warning had come to life in the worst possible way. And here's where it gets darker. Rumors suggest this wasn't just about King's attitude. Some say it was connected to a failed contraband deal inside. King's name reportedly showed up in a prison ledger tied to an exchange gone wrong, a promise broken, and in prison, that means blood. Even more suspicious, surveillance footage cut out minutes before the attack. Officials called it a technical malfunction, but no one's buying that. As one of T.I.'s old associates said, in Georgia, cameras only break when somebody wants them to. When the story leaked, social media exploded. Hashtags like #PrayForKing and #HarrisFamilyCrisis dominated timelines. TikTok filled with reaction videos, some sympathetic, others brutally mocking. One viral post said, "King finally met the real world, and it hit harder than his dad's lyrics." Another wrote, "Money can't buy respect, especially in prison."
No, King changed for other reasons and he ain't got good sense. You see what I'm saying?
Did Sonic not give us a question?
Everybody know King ain't got, you know what I'm saying? He ain't got all his marbles.
The internet was divided. Half saw a victim, half saw karma. Back home, chaos hit the Harris household. Insiders say T.I. hasn't slept since, frantically calling lawyers, political contacts, and even people from his old street life to pull strings. Tiny, meanwhile, has been managing the PR fallout, trying to keep their younger kids away from the noise. But behind the scenes, the stress is cracking the family apart. Sources claim the two are blaming each other, Tiny saying T.I. was too hard on King, and T.I. saying Tiny let him run wild. And then there's public opinion. For years, T.I. built his image as the wise mentor, the reformed OG who turned his mistakes into lessons. But seeing his son go down this path shattered that image. Online critics didn't hold back. All those lectures, and he still couldn't save his own kid. For a man who prided himself on guidance, this was the ultimate humiliation. Now, people are asking if this was more than just a personal downfall.
Who wanted to go over there? You cried and cried and cried when you couldn't go over there.
We done got big house, big yard, nothing to do.
But you want to be from the ghetto, so...
Was King attacked because of who he is, or because someone wanted to send a message to the Harris family? The name itself has been surrounded by controversy for years, from lawsuits to scandals and those buried allegations T.I. and Tiny have fought to silence. In a place like prison, gossip becomes power, and power always draws blood. The ambush may have been brutal, but many believe it's just the beginning, the opening move in a larger game. When a family this famous falls into crisis, vultures circle fast. And if the whispers are true, the Harris family's nightmare is only getting started. Soon after the news broke, anonymous insiders began stepping forward, claiming that what happened to King Harris wasn't just another prison brawl. It was a message. A warning. A setup. Word spread that the ambush had nothing to do with King running his mouth or showing off. No, this went much deeper. According to whispers inside and outside those prison walls, the attack was planned, not by random inmates, but by powerful people pulling strings behind the scenes. Some sources even suggested that it was meant as a direct message to T.I. himself, a brutal reminder that no amount of fame, influence, or money could protect his son once he was under the system's control. If that's true, this isn't just negligence, it's corruption at the top. But here's where things really twist. Witnesses say when King was dragged to the infirmary, bruised and half-conscious, he yelled, "Tell my pops this ain't over, I know who did it." Those words set the internet on fire. Fans and bloggers immediately began asking, who was he talking about? Another inmate? A rival? Or someone tied to his father's past? Theories exploded online. Suddenly, this wasn't just a prison story. It became a full-blown conspiracy saga with the Harris name right in the center. Twitter lit up with hashtags like #FreeKing, #TIExposed, and #PrayForHarris. TikTok detectives started stitching together King's old live streams, pointing out how his arrogance might have caught up to him. One viral edit even played the clip of T.I. putting King in a headlock at a Falcons game, cut next to King lying in ICU. The caption read, "Daddy warned him." The streets confirmed it. Meanwhile, Tiny was reportedly at her breaking point. Anonymous accounts claim she's been begging T.I. to back off before things spiral further, crying behind closed doors and fearing the worst. But T.I. isn't backing down. He's a man on a mission, and that obsession could either save his son or destroy everything they've built. Then came the wildest twist yet. A supposed leaked video hit the blogs, allegedly showing King in a heated argument inside the jail. It appeared to be recorded on a contraband phone. In the middle of the chaos, King reportedly shouted, "This ain't mine, it's my daddy's business." Those 9 words flipped the entire internet upside down. Overnight, King wasn't seen as a victim anymore. He became the whistleblower who might have just dragged his father into the fire. Reports claim T.I. went ballistic when he heard. One court insider swore they heard him yell, "You better bury that footage before it buries us." The man who once called himself untouchable was now begging his legal team to silence the storm his son unleashed. And the timing couldn't have been worse. Rumors swirled that prosecutors were looking to reopen old investigations tied to the Harris name, using King's leaked words as ammunition. The sins of the father and the mistakes of the son, colliding in one explosive scandal. As King lay in ICU, the speculation only grew. Some claimed he was stable, others said he was unresponsive. A few tabloids even reported that he'd whispered more confessions from his hospital bed. Nobody knew the truth, but every rumor fueled the fire. Behind the headlines, T.I. and Tiny's marriage unraveled further. Sources say Tiny snapped, screaming, "This is your fault, you made him a target." While T.I. fired back, "You babied him into this mess." Their empire was collapsing in real time. And just when it couldn't get worse, prosecutors hinted at new charges tied to the leaked footage. Prison insiders warned that if King went back behind bars, he'd be a walking target, his last name turning from protection to a death sentence. One former inmate put it plainly, "King Harris ain't making it in there. Once they smell blood, it's over." T.I. kept pulling strings, calling celebrities, offering hush money, begging for help, but the harder he pushed, the more desperate he looked. The King of the South now looked cornered, powerless, and exposed. By now, the Harris dynasty wasn't just under attack, it was imploding. Lawsuits resurfaced. Scandals reignited. Even King's siblings got dragged into the mess. What started as a beating behind bars had turned into a full-blown war, for power, reputation, and survival. And as insiders warn, this isn't the end. The ambush was just the beginning of something far darker. Whether this marks the downfall of the Harris Empire or the start of their fiercest fight yet, only time will tell.